Oh, back on the mic. It feels good.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great. Like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest super entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name's Mike Royer.
And this is a Superhero Slate review for Marvel's Black Panther, Mike.
That's right. This isn't just the first review of a movie this year. It is also the first review for a Marvel movie this year, which is, if you saw the trailers and ahead of this movie, there's a lot of good stuff coming out this year. My wife even leaned over and she was just like, there's a lot of good movies coming out. And I was like, I know, right? So we got this is the first Marvel movie of the year, first superhero movie of the year, first Superhero Slate review of the year.
That's right.
So we're kicking it off right, I'd like to say. I don't know if I'm kind of showing my cards already, but we kicked it off right.
Well, it sounds like we're setting some records for the year, kind of like what we're going to talk about this movie did for the world all around of all time. So, I mean, there's a lot of firsts going on here, and I guess if to show my cards as well, I'm very excited, and I look forward to returning to Wakanda very soon if I can.
But much like we like to do with these reviews, we're going to go ahead and keep it spoiler-free for the first couple minutes, and we'll clearly let you know when we dive into spoilers for the rest of it. So if you haven't seen it yet, and for some reason you want to be spoiled, you just go ahead and just carry right on through. But we'll let you know when that crops up. But what we also like to do is we like to talk about our theater-going experiences, because we ain't like all those fancy Hollywood types that get to see these movies ahead of time in a nice, controlled environment. We go out there just like the rest of you. So, Chris, you told me you had a very interesting story coming up that would overwhelmingly beat mine. So I'm going to go ahead and tell mine first.
Yeah, go right ahead. I'm excited to hear yours because you don't know what mine is yet, and that's the beauty of this.
Yeah,
so let's go.
It wasn't not as much of a story, but I had to wait until Sunday to see this movie. I literally just got back from this film. I mean, it's not like bad circumstances. Boo-hoo, I came back from vacation, so don't feel bad for me that I had to wait till Sunday.
I don't feel bad at all.
When you're waiting for these big box office opening movies, you just got to start glazing your eyes over whenever you're on social media because you don't want to see any spoilers. So I am happy that I was able to wait 3 days without getting any spoilers or even initial reviews. But I was down in Mexico waiting for my flight, and I even heard people sitting behind me starting talking about this movie, and I just had to get up and walk away because I was like, I can't just start singing out loud, so I can't hear these people or they're gonna think I'm weird. So I just like walked away. So I knew that if it was permeating even down there when the movie wasn't even out yet, I actually looked at movie theaters down there to see if maybe I could see this on my vacation. I didn't know what language it was going to be in, so I didn't really know what exactly was going to happen there, but I couldn't see it, so I waited. So I get to the theater, and the last thing you want to see is the person coming in front of you with a baby attached to the front of them. I don't know what those things are called, but
they're called babies.
Swaddled. I'm at the thing that holds the baby. So this woman just brings in this infant, and me and my wife just look at each other, just like, oh no, what's gonna go on here? This is like an infant in a big opening weekend movie. I was really nervous. I didn't want this to ruin my experience. You know, the baby starts crying even before the trailers start rolling. We start to get a little nervous. But, you know, she takes the baby out. It's like, okay, good. We know that this mom is capable of standing up and taking the baby out, so hopefully this isn't going to be an issue. Overheard the family in front of us said, more than likely, this baby's just going to knock out because apparently this baby just sleeps during movies. So I'm like, all right, baby, please don't ruin this movie for me. Right at the very beginning of the movie, in that first scene before we see the title card back in 1992, the baby starts crying, and I'm just like, what is going on here? What's going to happen? And man, my movie theater, props to the people in the theater with me. They were on top of it. Like, me and my wife have pretty short fuses when it comes to this kind of stuff. But man, the people in front of them only lasted 2 seconds, and the people to the left of them only lasted 3 seconds before they audibly said, "Lady, come on." So I want to give props to the people in my theater who didn't remain silent and got that lady out quick. Like, it was surprising. So I think the moral of the story here is, under no circumstances do you bring a baby to a movie. Like, it's not going to be good for anybody. Even you're not going to be able to enjoy the movie. I mean, this was an awesome opening weekend film. Get a babysitter, like
they
figure
can't,
it
because the
out.
babysitter's at the movie. Everyone's at this movie this weekend.
You're right. And then later, like somewhere in the middle of the movie, we heard some commotion in the theater behind us. So there was people back there trying to silence some people. So there was an appetite and a hunger to see this movie, even on like a Sunday afternoon. So I don't know if the word of the mouth was getting people to the theater, or maybe a lot of people out there just couldn't get to it till Sunday like me. But no one was going to let this movie get ruined for themselves. So it was everybody in my theater was getting really down to see this movie. But so it all went well. The baby kept quiet. Normal movie experience of like maybe people crumpling their snacks too hard. I know you hate that, but
okay. Well, honestly, I thought yours was going to end much worse, Mike. Now, are you sitting down?
I'm sitting down, man.
So I go to the fan event, okay? I can't stand to someone see this movie an hour before me at 6 o'clock. I got to go at 6 o'clock, too. So I go to the fan event. I get off work. I go wait in line. We're like 5th, 6th in line at the theater. Great, because there's no reserved seating. We get in, get our recliner seats. I'm like, great, this is what Mike's talking about. Recline seats. Gonna love it, right?
Yeah.
I sit down. The guy who's in front of me leaves a seat, sits 2 seats away. Great. A third guy leaves a space between him, 5 seats away from me. Right? Awesome. Love it. I'm sitting there. That guy looks over at us, the one farthest way. He's like, "Hey, can you watch my seat? I'm gonna go grab a drink." And I'm like, "Or free? We get free popcorn with these tickets." So we're like, "Sure,
yeah,
whatever." The theater's not full. It's very sparsely populated still. We're like, "Yeah, go ahead. We'll watch it. No big deal." So he comes back. He looks at me. This other guy's like, "Anyone sitting here?" We're like, "No." He moves his seat from 5 seats away to in between me and this other guy. I didn't know.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. So there's an hour before this movie starts. The theater is still kind of 3/4 empty. So he could have picked anywhere. He chose to sit between us. Immediately pulls out his phone, starts a phone conversation.
Oh my God, what is going on?
Literally on the phone until like the lights dim. He's like still ending the call. And he goes through like 4 phone calls. Once with this lady who he's like, "Haha, you're my friend. Would you ever go out with me?" Kind of.
Oh my God, what is going on?
Yeah. 30, 45 minutes is. The other 30 minutes is him talking to his son. He's apparently divorced a wife. They have a kid together. He's like, "Your mom, I know she doesn't have a job, but she needs to research that video game before she can buy it for you." And it's that over and over again. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't even block this out." And so finally the movie starts rolling, and I'm like, if he doesn't shut it off, I'm gonna shut it off for him.
Yeah,
when the movie starts. So he gets off the phone. That's fine. He just ruined the hour up into the movie experience. I'm already on edge. I don't know, 15, 30 minutes into this movie, he leans over, grips my arm with both of his hands. And says, "I keep waiting to see Eminem show up in this movie," because apparently one of the actors was in 8 Mile.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I just kind of like revolt away really quickly towards my wife, and I'm like, "Oh my God, don't touch me."
Oh no.
And it's so...
Oh no!
at the end of the day, my theater going experience was very, very marred. Like,
oh my God. No one wants to go to the theater and get touched by a stranger. Oh my gosh.
Especially when they had the option and the initial inclination to sit so far away.
Oh my God.
And I can't even get it through my head right. Next time I'm just going to buy 4 tickets and get seats on either side.
You need a bubble. You need a bubble.
Yeah. So, so I wanted to go. I'm like, you know what? To be honest, I still enjoyed the movie regardless of this weirdo. Great. I wanted to go again today to be like, hey, I want to see it again unscathed.
And he was there again.
No, thank God. So I was going to go to another theater with reserved seating.
Gotcha.
Literally every theater I had, all showings today were booked up except for like 2 random seats in the theater.
Yeah, I was outside my theater today, and when I was walking in, I heard some people go, "Oh my God, it's sold out!" And I assume they're talking about Black Panther because I don't think they're going to see Early Man or whatever movie came out against Black Panther. God rest its soul.
Samson. Samson was the other one this weekend. So I couldn't even go see it again today, but thankfully me and my wife have tomorrow off work. We might go see a matinee on a weekday and try to watch it again without
Well,
someone.
I'm glad you were able to survive that encounter, but man, yeah, I hate it when people think that they can just do whatever they want till the movie starts. But it's all about the atmosphere. You're going out to the movies. It's like a thing. I'm not trying to be like the old curmudgeon that complains like, oh, people used to get dressed up in suit and ties before they got on airplanes. It's just like, no, there's still a bit of mystique around the movie. When you go there, just you gotta let it wash over you. So it sucks that happened to you.
Look, we could have recorded a whole podcast before this movie started, and you know what? We don't, because we're considerate. I don't need to personal conversations, but I mean, at the end of the day, we're not here to review the movie-going experience, no matter how rough it ended up being. We're here to talk about Black Panther, and
that's right.
And as you can probably get out of this, spoiler-free, I had a really good time with this movie. I really, really like Black Panther. And I don't know. I mean, again, a lot of people put it as their number one movie. I can't go that far yet. But I think it's in the upper echelon, maybe top 5. Maybe we have 20 to choose from. So it's hard to pick a spot. So, I mean, I really, really had a good time with Black Panther, Mike. And that was Thursday night. Hopefully, I'll see it again and have an even more welcoming experience. But Mike, you literally just walked out into this podcast. What do you think?
Ooh, man, it was a great time. What a ride. It was such a great environment to be in. Obviously, no spoilers here, but we all know we go to Wakanda. We get to see this very a vibrant land, a bunch of awesome characters. I think we get a really perfect balance of the Marvel humor mixed with the Marvel action, dramatic moments. This was I believe, the first Marvel movie that ever made me start to well up. Technically, a tear never fell down my cheek, but there was just a moment in this film that we'll talk about in spoilers a little bit where I was just like, what's happening to me right now? I don't understand what's going on here. So so great, solid performances, badass characters, whether they're male or female, kicking butt. There's just an amazing world that's being built here, I'm just looking at all this Wakanda tech, and I'm just like, oh man, Tony, you don't even know what you're in for here. T'Challa's just got you knocked down in every category. Yeah. So it was just such a fun world to be in.
You mean Shuri? So
yeah, it was just so cool, so badass, such a compelling story. I mean, it's this kind of mixture of we've seen Black Panther already, but we're kind of it's almost like a T'Challa.
T'Challa.
It's more of a Wakanda origin story than a T'Challa origin, but we get to get introduced to a lot of this stuff, and it's just so much fun, so fun and vibrant. We've seen in the Infinity War trailer that we're going to be seeing more of Wakanda, and I can totally see why. Who wouldn't want to go there? I want to see Cap running around there doing all kinds of stuff. I want to see people just vibing with this tech. It's just a really creative way that they tell the story with kind of what Wakanda sits on metaphorically and physically, and just how they are interacting with the world. Kind of this, I don't want to say it's a political drama, but it's almost I don't know. I guess it is kind of politics. We're talking about kings and rulers, and it was just so much fun. And man, Michael B. Jordan was great. Mm-hmm. This made me want to run and watch everything Ryan Coogler has made, because I think pretty much everything he's made has had Michael B. Jordan in it. So I want to go watch Creed. I want to go watch Fruitvale Station. I want to go see this stuff. I think this was the first director of photography. I think this is the first time a woman has helmed a budget this big. When it came to cinematography. Someone out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what it was. And man, the movie just looked great. I'm still absorbing it all in, but great story. Like you said, definitely up there in top 5 for sure. But at this point, I think almost ranking the movies is a little bit futile, because this really, the MCU just feels like a season of a TV show, and every movie we get, we're getting a new episode. So I'm just like, damn, this is a really good episode of MCU right now. And then oh yeah, that other episode directed by that other person. Ooh, that one was really funny. There was a lot of stuff happening there. Oh man, this episode's really dramatic. And then, oh man, the next episode is the season finale. I can't wait for Infinity War to see what happens there. So when I watch these movies, I'm just kind of taking them all in. It's just I just let the Marvel comic bookness just wash over me. So great Stan Lee cameo. We'll talk about that a little bit. But yeah, just everything that you want in these movies, man, is so great.
Yeah, I think I had a good time, and I think what I felt up more of whenever I walked out of this is like, this feels like Thor, the Thor movies, but the other side of the Thor movies. Like, this is, I mean, like, you've got to deal with kings and kingdoms, right? And dealing with peoples and who are ruling them. And I think, you know, like, in terms of the Asgards, they were openly ruling and protecting these 9 realms, right? The Wakandans are like, well, we're secretly protecting our 5 tribes in Wakanda. So, like, if you want something like, it's like the first Thor movie, but done really, really well at the end of the day. I've got to say, I love, again, the culture, the style. Like, again, you've always used this word because we heard it once, was Afrofuturism. And they I think they nail that on the head, because you get stuff in here like historical, like they're still using spears and shields and fighting like the old school, you know, African war, you know, styles. But you also get this thing of vibranium and what does it do, and how does it, a little bit of it enhance things in a long way.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, we're not just strictly in Wakanda. We're in America a little bit. I think we're in maybe South Korea for a little bit, I think. So you get to see these interactions with these characters in other parts of the world, which I also really enjoyed. And I mean, I know it's no secret, but I really enjoyed the return of Claw in this one, played by Andy Serkis.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember. I was going to ask you this. It's been a while since I've seen Ultron, the only other movie we've seen Claw in. But was he that kind of like fun and just wacky and just like in Ultron? I loved it in this. So I don't know if it was more of a progression of the character or just getting more of Serkis. But, ooh, it was awesome.
Yeah, in that one, he was talking about the fish eating. He was scared of cuttlefish, and he offered the enhanced people candies. I mean, he's not quite all there, and that makes him fun. But he was even more fun in this one, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And again, the introduction or the reintroduction of, I forget the agent's name from the CIA or whatever, Everett Ross. Him like just not knowing how to handle Wakanda, and like that was really like, I would feel like a lot of us, if we were to witnesses, we would be in his shoes, like, what is going on here? So I really liked all, like, there's nothing, I mean, I'm actually gonna go a little bit, I think this movie suffers from some CGI unfinished touches a little bit, to be honest with you, because I can tell where the green screen was on a lot of the wider shots, but it's not gonna detract from the overall film, because this movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes, Mike. It felt like I was in there an hour and a half. Like, it just goes by so quickly. Like,
yeah, I mean,
that's a testament to how enthralled and engaged I was.
Yeah, I mean, maybe once we jump into the spoilers and we start talking about it a little bit more in depth, maybe I can try to pick up some stuff that I didn't really enjoy. But, you know, the whole time I was just, it was just great. Like, there was actually, I think we talked about this when we were reviewing Thor. You know, I wanted something a little bit more dramatic. And we definitely got dramatic elements in this, some that are final. You know, some that brings conclusions to characters. So I think we should start talking about spoilers right now.
Well, I think we should, but the last thing we're going to make, box office. That's not a spoiler.
Okay. All right.
We were just talking about this before it started. This movie has made, as of the article I'm reading right now, The Hollywood Reporter, has made $223 million domestic opening this weekend.
And that beats Avengers, correct?
Almost. Currently, it sits right behind the Avengers 4-day gross of $226 million.
Ooh, and I mean, I don't know if a couple more dollars will shake down once they get the official numbers, but even second place behind the Avengers for a character we've only seen twice now is huge. I mean, the Avengers, think about it. The first time all those characters came together on the screen, that's like almost an unbeatable combination that even Ultron couldn't replicate, and not even Civil War could replicate. And then just having just a little Ryan Coogler film come along with some of his favorite actors just blowing up the box office. I mean, I think 2 weeks ago they projected this movie pretty good. They were saying like, oh, this is going to do good. We were thinking like 140, 150 million.
Yeah.
You start to hear all these stories about people buying out theaters, so you know people from the community could go see the movie if they couldn't afford the ticket. You start to hear about
us not being able to find tickets on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think Allison Brie was saying that she'd buy a ticket for anybody that like or Brie Larson, sorry, Brie Larson for anybody that couldn't grab it. So it's just like this. It's just a groundswell, and then all of a sudden, bam! All this cash. I mean, like this really makes me start to think about sequels. What are we gonna do? How's the Black Panther gonna evolve? There's a lot of questions here. A lot of things that we can talk about for sure.
Yeah, and just to for people who care about that sort of thing, 37% of the ticket buyers have been African American. 35% were Caucasian. 18% were Hispanics. And most superhero movies, get an African American audience around 15%. So that's obviously a huge role in this opening weekend haul. So
yeah, I think it almost goes into the theme of the movie at its core. It's like we are all one big tribe, and the whole tribe came out to buy tickets, baby. So Disney's definitely not, the pocketbook definitely ain't hurting. That's for sure.
The movie made $200 million to produce. I don't know marketing costs, but it's already obviously made almost over $400 million worldwide. So they've got themselves a big winner on their hands, I think.
Yeah,
so.
I'm sure Kendrick Lamar's album for this is gonna make up some of that dough too. So they're think the toys, the albums, oh man, the costumes for Halloween.
But most importantly, the spoilers. Mike, let's get into these. You want to talk about this movie? I want to talk about this movie with you. Let's get into it. Here it is.
Let's talk about some vibranium. I was actually really surprised how much vibranium was going to be the core of this movie without talking about Infinity Gems at all. I was really expecting to see that crop up, or at least somebody hint at it in an after credit scene, but it wasn't. We were just all talking about it's almost like a theory. It's like somebody sat down one day and be like, wouldn't it be a really interesting story if just a really valuable resource just landed in the middle of basically the middle of nowhere? How does that affect the villages and the people that live in that area? Well, apparently it affects everything, and it makes them rise up out of nothing. And I thought the way that they told the story at the very beginning, almost like was it a father telling his son about the history of Wakanda? And this really interesting kind of like sand story was really cool. I thought it was much more effective than how Ego told Star-Lord the story of his past with those kind of weird ceramic porcelain figures. When I think about that kind of visualization, it's still kind of cool and creative, but this felt just kind of more real and tactile, so I really was resonating with that story.
I think also, I just watched Thor: The Dark World on my countdown to Infinity War today, and at the beginning of it, they tell you the history of the Dark Elves or whatever, and they actually showed real stuff, and I'm like, I don't care about any of it. Like, I'm not engaged in this. So I think the sand stuff was cool because it's visually impressive, and it fits along with how the technology works in the rest of that universe. Like when their intercoms come up, it looks like little sand bits coming together on the holograms. Even the holographic vehicles they were driving came up out of the sand. So the vibranium, it's kind of almost like, what can't it do right now? It's a boy, that's convenient that it can do everything right now that we need. So
yeah, and I think
awesome.
And I think it was a smart choice as a storytelling device to keep it all in one area, because you think like, oh well, if vibranium's just like out there in the world, shouldn't it be affecting everything? It's like, well, yeah, it should, but that's why they're keeping it all in this one area, town, city, country. Is it a country? I don't even know what they.
Wakanda is a country. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool how they were holding that all down. Man, it was just really interesting to see all the technology makes sense. That's what I really liked. I like fantastical elements in my movies, but I like it also when when there's a theory and a reason to it. So like when his Black Panther suit just kind of appears onto him, that we've seen that once before, and it was with Tony's suit, and that kind of made sense because he's like, oh, I embedded stuff under my skin, then it kind of like flies to those points and then assembles together. But in this, we stated earlier in the movie, we can see like the sand coming up. We can see all these like kinetic bits. So when it comes out of his necklace and forms his suit, like, oh, okay, I get it. I totally understand that. And then we learn about the properties of vibranium and how it can hold kinetic energy. That was kind of cool. So I guess if maybe there's one thing I can kind of ding the movie about, like that kinetic energy was maybe used a little bit too much. That was kind of his like trump card that he used all the time. Like it's almost just like no one can hurt the Black Panther. Like you can punch him all day and the punches are just going to get thrown back at you. So, but that happened like 4 or 5 times. So I was just like, maybe there's another way Black Panther could like fight. I think maybe he also needs like his own Achilles heel, besides just like kind of the sonic waves, because when his own people were fighting him at the end of the movie, I never thought for a second he was in trouble. I was like, he's in like this impenetrable suit, like no one's gonna beat him up. He's just gonna turn on his little reverse boom switch that is in his suit, and these people are just gonna fly everywhere, because we've seen it a couple times now. So maybe that could have been tweaked a little bit, but when so much right is going in your movie, it's just easy to not like dwell on these little things, you know.
Well, it also made for an interesting fight scene there at the end, and I've got to say, my concerns about the villain being a color palette swapped version of the hero hugely thrown out the window by the end of this movie.
Yeah, because Michael B. Jordan just knew how to bring the attitude, and he just made himself the polar opposite of T'Challa, but still compelling in a totally different way.
Yeah, but so like whenever they were fighting with the two similar suits, you had to get smart with it, and I think that was maybe why they only had like the one feature, because it was all about the user of the suit rather than the suit itself, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and they did a good job making the king be somebody that can fight without the power of the suit. So it's just like you have to earn the suit, almost like we've seen Tony say in these previous movies, like whether it's himself or with Peter Parker. Like, you're not just a hero because you put on this awesome badass stuff. You're a hero because what's underneath it. So it's kind of cool to see that theme kind of transition through all these movies.
Yeah, so I mean, let's just go ahead, and we don't normally do this, but let's just go ahead and like break down a little bit of the story a little bit, just to so we know where it is. So you mentioned it starts in 1992, and we get to see a young King T'Chaka meet what are called the War Dogs, and War Dogs are apparently implanted spies around the world, which I thought was kind of an interesting add-on to this, because I've never heard of that myself. And his brother, the King's brother, was a War Dog, and then Forrest Whitaker's Shuri was not Shuri. Was it Shuri? No. What's his name?
I don't remember a lot of the names, so you can just say Forrest
Whitaker's character was another implanted, there to watch him. So you find out how Claw got all the vibranium early on, and that there's some, not all Wakandans have the same ideals. So there's a little bit of infighting there. We get to see, this picks up right after Civil War. The Black Panther has to fight to earn his right to, I guess, T'Challa has to fight to earn the right to be the Black Panther and King of the Tribes. He gets to fight M'Baku, which was one of the coolest characters at the end of the day, to be honest. And so the fighting was fun there at Warrior Falls. Then they go to South Korea to capture Claw, and we get to see some of the Claw's hand for the first time. We'll talk about that later. That was really cool. Get introduced to Everett Ross and a little bit of backstory behind Killmonger. Killmonger takes the throne because he's just kind of a dick, really, at the end of the day. Black Panther is almost dead. They bring him back because of the heart-shaped herb. We'll talk about how vibranium affects the plants, and then ends up fighting Killmonger at the end and winning and saving the day. And at the end, they pull an Iron Man. We're like, we are gonna help the world now with our stuff. But he didn't say I am Black Panther. I was hoping he was going to say that, but
yeah, that's what I thought too. In the first after credit scene where he's talking to the UN Council, and then it just ends with him with that grin on his face. I thought maybe the suit was going to appear over him, but like it's probably a good thing that it didn't, because it just kind of leaves you wondering, what happened in there, or just like, just wait,
where's it going to go?
You. Yeah, so that was cool. We can talk about the other after credit scene real quick, because we got to see that other white boy that they were talking about, which was Bucky hanging out in a little hut somewhere in Wakanda. So I'm glad that we got to see him crop up. Maybe not the most compelling after credit scene. I was kind of hoping T'Challa's sister maybe would hint at like, she said there's more to show you or more to tell you. I was like, I thought maybe she said, we're gonna need you ready soon. I got you a new arm because shit's about to go down. So I think it's cool to see Bucky again. He's looking like he's got a nice cup of coffee and look like he's ready to go. Yeah. So
nice man bun. He was rocking the man bun on the little misty lake there. But I agree, it's not the most energetic, like, pump you up in credit scene, but the movie had so much pump you up. I think having a nice subtle in credit scene before we get, like you said, our season finale in a couple months, I think it's good. I think it was okay. I think it was a nice mixture there.
Yeah,
overall.
But
and while we're mentioning just kind of Easter eggs and stuff like that, The Stan Lee cameo is my favorite one of all the movies in this one. It's probably the longest he's had in any of the movies as well.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see him in a scene where it didn't look like he was just on his own or maybe even shot differently. He may have been shot on a green screen and added in there, but he actually really felt like he was in the scene for once.
Yeah, he was stealing those credits that he won on at the dice game. That was just he's like, I'm just gonna put these over here a little bit.
Yeah. Stan, I thought you were a watcher. I thought you're supposed to be watching and not disturbing. You can't just go around stealing people's poker chips. Well, what are you doing?
He
here,
was
man?
watching the poker chips. He didn't say he was stealing them. He was gonna watch them. So he was technically a watcher.
Yeah, there you go. So I think we maybe want to talk about some characters now.
That's what I was actually going to ask you. Who's your favorite character, Mike?
Ooh, I think it's got to be Michael B. Jordan. I love the layers of, he wasn't just a standard, like you said, color swapped villain. He actually had some pretty strong motivations. I mean, like, what's going to happen to a kid when he grows up without a father, and then he finds out about all this like crazy mystic stuff that happens in his past, but he's not 100% sure. I mean, that's really going to screw with you, knowing that the magical country that you came from just kind of disowned you. I mean, that is very clear motivation. And I just love the attitude and swagger that he had. And when he kind of basically kicked down the door of Wakanda and showed up, he's like, I want that throne. It's just like, yeah, I could totally see why you'd want that. And maybe Wakanda needs to rethink how easy it is for somebody to become king, because it seems like you're just a simple fight away. And that's just kind of opening the door for basically, you're saying only people that are really badass fighters can ever be king, because if you're not a badass fighter, you're going to be dismantled very quickly. So it's actually a funny line that a lot of movies have to walk whenever you're talking about kings and being an heir to a throne, because it's just like, in the modern world, I think most of humanity agrees some form of democracy is the best will of the people. So I don't know if maybe in the future Wakanda will kind of go that way to be possibly a little bit more fair. But I mean, this is a superhero movie, so I'm not really thinking too much into that. But yeah, I was totally down with Michael B. Jordan's motivations. He was a badass fighter. I loved his aesthetic, the scars that he has on him.
Yeah,
I thought that was going to be more like cultural or maybe something to do with Wakanda. He's just like, no, man, I just put one of these on me every time I kill somebody. So that was really badass. And then, man, at the end, when T'Challa finally gets him and stabs him at the last second before his suit comes back on, and then he's just like sitting there, just like dazed, and just like he knows that he just lost. He's impressed, but also he's just sad that he finally came all this way and he just couldn't do it. He just, all this like was just flooding all over him. And then I was just like, I was kind of like welling up a little bit there. That's where the tear almost fell, because I was just like, there's just this kid that rose up from nothing with no help from anybody. And even though he did it with like some of the worst intentions and he was a dick about it, he still achieved it. And then it's just taken away from him like that. And then T'Challa was a bro and took him outside and showed him the sunset. And I was just like, oh, man, he still went out like a badass by almost like, basically, he didn't kill himself by stabbing himself, but he just kind of just went out his own way. So, man, what an awesome character. Obviously, it's sad to see a good villain go. Because you kind of want Marvel to keep their villains, but you definitely can't ding this movie for a crappy villain, that's for sure. We had two awesome ones, Claw and Michael B. Jordan.
This is true.
Killmonger.
I think my biggest, if I was to knock the movie as a whole, it's the period where Killmonger becomes the king, and he's like, we're gonna give weapons, and then the next time we see him, he's already shipping the weapons out. It happens so quickly. I'm like, what happened in the middle here? Because I don't believe that the kingdom would just flop over and be like, okay, we're going to give weapons to everybody. Because everyone else has been like, no, we don't want to share anything. So that's like my biggest complaint. But I think my favorite characters, it's hard. It gets hard to choose because I like Shuri, the sister, a lot. She was very fun and energetic and was like, here's like, I don't know, imagine like a young Tony Stark. She's like, I'm building all this stuff and we're going to, have fun with it. I got to upgrade it.
I love the scene with her where she tells her brother to hit the suit, and then he kicks it, and then it just like flies across her. She's like, no, not that hard.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fucking hilarious.
And then she's like, oh yeah, do it again. And then it throws him backwards. It was pretty.
And why are you recording? You delete that.
This is pretty good. And then again, like I said, M'Baku, again, the fifth tribe who's kind of exiled themselves. But like they're still not above honor and repaying debts.
I thought that dude was going to be a bad guy for sure, and he ended up being cool with it.
Yeah, I mean his kingdom's imposing. Where he sits looks really cool with all those spears. pointed down to his throne over the peak of the mountains.
Yeah,
But
don't worry too much though. He's a vegetarian. He's
Yeah.
not going to eat you. He's
But
not
at
going
the-
to eat you.
But at the end of the day, he just shows up at the battlefield, and you're like, "What the hell's that?" Oh, it's the tribe that has women warriors as well. They're just coming in here and they're they didn't slaughter, but they definitely put the hurt on the Wakandan warriors. But there's so many strong women characters in this. Like,
Oh yeah.
you've got to look at Okoye and Nakia, and then I can't think of his mother's name, but like. The women in this are just as strong as the men characters, and like they can hold their own at the end of the day. Like seeing Nakia fight Killmonger with her little discs I was like I'm impressed with this. So I don't know. And then having the women, the Dora Milaje be the fighters for the king as well. I can never pronounce her name. Dana Guerrera, I believe. She's in The Walking Dead. She played Okoye. But when she's swinging that staff around in the South Korean gambling room, I'm like, wow, I would want to fight her. She's gonna put the hurt on somebody. So.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, it was just so badass. I like seeing how badass all of these characters can be, even when they technically come from privilege. And I wish a lot of the more of our world was like that, where if you have all of this power and all of these resources, they were all very driven to kind of give back, T'Challa's ex-girlfriend.
Nakia.
Nakia was basically just I can't just hang out in this paradise where people all around us are just being screwed over, so she's embedding herself in trucks of people kidnapping women and just kicking ass. Man, that was so cool.
Yeah, no, it really is. Speaking of that scene, I always think about the trailer had the "don't freeze," and then we find out why he's freezing in the movie because he's seen his ex girlfriend, and then they keep playing they keep teasing him about it later on. They're like, oh,
did he freeze? He's what did they say? An elk, in
an antelope
in
in the headlights. Yeah,
yeah.
So and even when he gets back to the kingdom, yeah, he froze, didn't he? They're like, yeah, he did. So it was fun to see I don't know the connections, the chemistry between all the characters was there, and it felt really good.
Yeah, and
to kind of see that.
Poor Forrest Whitaker can't make it out of a Disney movie alive. That's for sure.
No, he can't.
Whether it's Rogue One or Black Panther, he always seems to be sacrificing himself. So I guess good for you, buddy. You're definitely being nice.
But I think we're also missing an important thing. T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman himself.
Oh yeah.
It goes without saying, it's probably one of the highlight, the highlight of the movie. He sells the character so hard, and he just, you hear him talking, he doesn't have that Wakandan accent, and you're like, what? He delivers his lines perfectly, you feel for him, he just acts his heart out, and it's more than a role for him, I think. Again, this movie has transcended just filmmaking. This is a cultural phenomenon.
It's almost a really good sign of writing and directing and acting when you can kind of almost make a Boy Scout character charismatic and just engaging, because that's kind of what Captain America's character is. Captain America and T'Challa are basically both almost infallible. They're kind of there to be the pillars of heroes out there, and kind of their flaws almost come from being too good, always putting themselves forward, and just gets them in trouble. Maybe a little bit of inexperience might be their flaws, but it's always good when you can make that Boy Scout character just really fun and engaging, because it's easy to make Tony Stark lovable just because he's just kind of a little bit of a scoundrel. He's got kind of schwarmy and stuff like that. So smarmy?
Smarmy?
I guess I'm thinking about shawarma. I guess he likes shawarma. So so the flawed characters are usually a bit more fun to write, but man, yeah, I just love him. He's just so fun. I just want to go hang out with him and just get some I feel like if I ever have a problem in my life, I could go to T'Challa and he'd tell me exactly what to do, and I know it was right, and I never question it.
Yeah, and he believes it so hard himself that you like you said, he can't do wrong, because he really believes in it, and I think that's what makes him a good team up with Captain America come Infinity War. Yeah, but also other characters. Again, we talked a little bit about Claw, but he was so unhinged in this one. It was fun to watch him.
Yeah, and he's so perfectly set up, because we saw him dealing with vibranium and Ultron. Take it or leave it, the Ultron itself, the movie, but it set up Claw in a really perfect way. And I don't think we should not look at him dying. I mean, that's a big deal. Not a lot in these movies do existing characters that we've built up have finalized deaths. So seeing him be dispatched in the movie, I thought, that had a little bit of weight to it for sure, because and that's a really good thing, because when I saw him get basically killed off screen, that always instinctually makes me think, oh, he's not dead, or he's coming back to life, or something's happening, because we just see the gunshot, we don't see him die, and the next time we see him, he's dead in a body bag. So it's just like, oh, okay, it's nice to bring some weight and consequences back to the MCU. Maybe not the biggest death we've seen in a while. I think maybe Odin dying was a little bit more substantial in Ragnarok, but he kind of just turned into fairy dust. I don't really know how much impact that had.
Well, a lot of the characters dying, you just don't see, you can't foreshadow a lot of them. And you didn't, honestly, when you go in the movie, the first, you don't know Killmonger is trying to get Claw to get back into Wakanda. Like, you think, oh, he's working with him and they're all going to attack Wakanda later, kind of thing. So, it was definitely an interesting vibe, and his hand cannon was interesting. He was having a fun time with that, being goofy. I don't know. It was just I don't know. I really liked Claw in this one, and I look forward to going back and rewatching him.
Man, I would have loved to see like a one shot of, maybe when the Blu-ray comes out, maybe it will be like a deleted scene or a flashback of how Claw ended up making it out of Wakanda, because he said he was the only one that had ever been there and he made it out. It would have been really cool to see, because it's so locked down. I'd love to see how you heist something out of that city. So it just goes to show how resourceful he is.
He did mention they said explosions and killed a bunch of people, and he got out under the cover of the explosion. So they at least told us a little bit about it. Then we also got to see the Panther realm, where all the other Black Panthers, but they're not Black Panthers, live, because you see your relatives, it looks like. Because when Killmonger went under the heart-shaped herb, he saw his dad in their apartment growing up, and instead of T'Challa saw his dad and all the other Black Panthers in his lineage.
It's like everybody's own little happy place, I guess. And who knows it? I guess we're not 100% sure if they're actually communicating with the dead or not, or maybe it's more of just kind of like a mind trip. But I think that kind of goes back to the asteroid that hits Wakanda and like you said, infects the plants. So maybe they are actually doing something. I think maybe in Infinity War, since there are scenes in the trailer that we see an invasion against Wakanda from Thanos' horde of whatever they're called.
Outriders.
The Outriders. So I think there is an Infinity Stone there. I don't know if it's embedded deep in that mine, or maybe they know about it and they just didn't bring it up in the movie. Maybe it's just some sort of sacred gem that they hold on to and they don't know exactly what it does, but maybe that's what made the vibranium like powerful. Like maybe vibranium was just like a normal like iron ore, but fuck you throw an Infinity Stone in it for long enough, it turns into vibranium, crashes in the earth, gets into the plants.
That sounds like a crazy theory I had like 2.5 years ago about this, so I'm totally on board. But the more I think about it, the more I actually think, they didn't really tell us, but I could also see them totally bringing the Vision here to hide him from Thanos's armies. And because as we saw, Wakanda technology and power is above everything else. Iron Man has nothing on what's going on in Wakanda. So if you need to protect the Vision from getting his stone ripped out, where are you going to take him? Wakanda. So I can lean either way right now on this, because I mean, hopefully we see more war rhinos is really all I want to see. Because that was really fun as well. But I don't know. I mean, I can go either way on the Soul Stone right now. Like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know, man.
Yeah, but I'm really curious about these flower things. So these flowers are the hearts inside of them. I don't know exactly what
they're heart-shaped herbs is what they're called, and they blossom. They're the vibranium infused with the ground, and they grow in the garden area, and they give the Black Panther his powers.
Yeah, so I was kind of curious, are these things that anybody can eat and get powerful, or once you eat it, the power is there permanently? Because we don't really see T'Challa doing a lot of superhero things outside of his suit. We do see him jump from the first floor to the second floor in the casino without his suit on, so that kind of makes me think, oh, those do give him enhanced abilities outside of maybe just fighting with maybe extra stamina. So I'm kind of curious exactly what these things do, and now we know there's no more of them. They were all burnt down, and kind of the last one was used to bring him back to life. I thought maybe they would bring that up again, saying like, oh, now this is truly the last King of Wakanda, or maybe at least the last Black Panther of Wakanda, because we can't make any more Black Panthers. Yeah, I guess we can put the suit on a new person, or anybody that wants to put the suit on, like Iron Man, but no one's going to be able to eat any more of those flowers unless maybe they're growing secretly in a mountain somewhere and just nobody knows about it. So I thought maybe there might be a little bit more of consequences behind those.
So he does have powers outside of the suit. That's why they have to make him take the anti-heart-shaped herb juice before they fight at Warrior Falls. Otherwise, he would just win instantly.
Oh, that's what that was. I was really curious what that was. I was like, are they giving him just some sort of like ritualistic like Red Bull or something? But I guess that makes sense because when he drank it, he kind of, his veins got all dark and he was kind of twitching. But yeah, I wasn't really sure what that was. So that
they bring him back down to just normal levels. So it's essentially kind of like a ingestible super soldier serum that you can get, and it does. I don't know if he has healing or what extra powers he has from that, but yeah. So that's what that does, and yeah, there are no more that we know of. I don't know if they'll touch that or not because maybe they don't want to announce that to the rest of the tribes that's all gone. It may grow back later. We don't know. So I think leaving the results of that for another movie are probably smarter than trying to shove it in this one.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that too. Since we're kind of wrapping it up here, let's talk about what holds the future of Black Panther, because obviously a movie that does this well, we're not just going to get one Black Panther movie. We're going to get kind of like that solid trilogy that all of our kind of individual characters get. We might see team ups maybe in the sequels going forward. Maybe we'll throw, I don't know, Spider-Man in the third Black Panther movie. I don't know why that makes sense, but who knows? Maybe.
You know what you do?
What do you do?
You put Storm in there when the X-Men come into the universe.
Speaking of that, I'm wearing my Storm shirt right now that I got from Box Lunch, so that's a free plug for you, Box Lunch.
You didn't wear Black Panther to the movie?
No, because like you said, you don't. When you go see your favorite brand, you don't wear their shirt. You got to wear another band's shirt.
That's right. Thank you. But yeah. I think going forward, you've got to deal with. I think now everyone knows about Wakanda, and maybe someone might be trying to come in and maybe invade it. But I mean that might be too close to Infinity War. But I think you've got to deal with now the world knows about Wakanda and the vibranium, and like maybe they're trying to figure out why maybe some sort of money thing, because technically Black Panther would be the richest person in the MCU because of the cost of vibranium is so high, and as the king he would own it all kind of thing. So
yeah, I would really curious how you oppose Wakanda in future sequels. I would like, even though I was raving on and on about how much I loved that country, it would be kind of cool. I like seeing Black Panther outside of it, though. He seems so at home, so safe, and so cozy in Wakanda that when a threat shows up, of course he's going to protect it, and he's going to have everything at his disposal, his family and all of that. But yeah, I really liked him in Civil War when he was just kind of like out there in the streets, just being a badass on his own, all solo. So I think I want to see him solo again for sure, without his Q from from 007 backing him up with all these gadgets. So maybe there'll be a similar Iron Man 3 type of movie where he gets stripped of a lot of his powers. But even though we do kind of see part of that in this movie when he's fighting one-on-one. So yeah, I'd be really curious what the sequels of a Black Panther movie would be. Does it go a little bit cosmic? Do we I don't know a whole lot about his origin, his villains. I suppose maybe we bring up another villain that maybe comes from a different part of Africa. Maybe, I don't know. How do you conquer Wakanda when it's like so big and gigantic? Where do you find the stories in there?
I tell you what, you've given me an idea. Like this could also kind of be like Iron Man, where the Wakanda technology is now publicly available, but people are building weapons out of it, and T'Challa finds it like, this is not our goal. We did not want this to happen. With this technology, so he has to take it upon himself to find out who's doing this. Maybe bring back Justin Hammer and Hammer Technologies from Iron Man.
That would be cool.
And be
I'd like that.
Yeah, so I mean, there are ways. I think to me, the way would be the falling out of opening up your country to the world. Where does that leave the rest of the world at? So that might be something. I honestly have nothing offhand because I like Claw as a villain, and maybe they bring him back as pure Sonic sound, like he is, like his body's sonic sound, but I doubt that's gonna happen at all.
Yeah, it might be a little bit too abstract.
But Wakanda may be left reeling after Thanos' invasion, so maybe rebuilding Wakanda from the ground up as well.
Yeah, I guess we got to remember that. Who knows, maybe they'll go the same route as at Asgard and it's like, oh nope, T'Challa or Wakanda's about the people, not about the place, and then maybe Thanos just wrecks some stuff. But I guess we're gonna see what happens. Maybe you always go to space. Maybe the third Black Panther movie, he goes to the moon. I don't know.
You don't gotta go to space. They ain't nobody going to space. But I wouldn't be surprised if they already had someone there. Yeah, really. So, honestly, at the end of the day, I've got to watch it again because my experience was a little marred. But I really look forward to Black Panther. I really liked it. Everything there is just, it all adds together. Like, this is definitely a Marvel hit. One I'm not going to have a problem rewatching.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a way to start the year. We're starting it strong and solid. I think our next spoiler cast showing up is going to be another Marvel incarnation of Jessica Jones season 2, but the next big movie is going to be Infinity War coming up in May, and that's sneaking up.
Maybe, unless we do Pacific Rim, Mike, because...
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess we're segueing away from Black Panther here, but yeah, I want to get in those crazy D-box seats. I want to smell the movie for the first time in my life.
Well, all right then. Well, sure, why not? So, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, if we were to sit here and honestly watch Black Panther in theaters, go see it. This is not your standard superhero fare. This is not your Justice League. This is going to knock your socks off.
Oh yeah.
So, but Mike, we've got a regular episode to record, so let's go do that. We're going to talk about regular news. So, but if people want to find you and what you're up to, and where can they do that at?
Well, that's right. You can follow me at Mike Royer Design at Instagram and Twitter. And you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to follow you, see what you're up to, see if you're maybe getting touched by more strangers at the movie theater, where can they find you?
Look, this is not a Pee Wee Herman scenario, but you know what?
Oh, man.
But you can find me on Twitter at Valdan, VALDAN. Head over to Comic UI, head over to YouTube, search the DNN, see the videos we did there. Last week, my host, John, who filled in for Mike, me and him do unboxings, and we unboxed the Thanos on a throne. So I know you'd be interested in seeing that, Mike. It's huge. It's nice.
Cool.
So, but if people are listening to us for a review of Black Panther, but they want to know the regular show we do every week, where can they find that at?
That's right. Please visit superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues that we host our show, and you can find us on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, Stitcher. You can subscribe and get us right in your email inbox every week. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and if you want to get some merch, head on over to superheroslate.com/store. We got some t-shirts and mugs and cups and hoodies and stuff over there. If you're a fan of the show, please consider leaving us a review. We really love that. Hit us up on iTunes. I think we love reviews there. We love comments and likes and subscribes, whatever you do over there on YouTube. We're out there all over the place, so we love hearing from you. And if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week. And this week we're here twice, so make sure you're subscribed, and you'll get our weekly news episode and catch up on all the stuff that you missed last week when it comes to superhero stuff. We're going to be talking about an Incredibles 2 trailer coming up here shortly, and that's basically the only way you're going to get a good Fantastic Four movie, so stay tuned, and we love you.
That's right. We will catch you for our next review, Jessica Jones, but if not, subscribe to our weekly show, and we'll catch you there. See you guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
You're now a bad hombre, aren't you? You went to Mexico, you turned into a bad hombre.